Parental burnout is costing America's families, and it is linked to poor mental health outcomes for parents and kids alike. It is also more common than we think, with studies suggesting that up to 90% of parents will experience it at some point. But what if I told you that you could protect yourself and your family from this growing epidemic? That is what we are going to talk about today, because I don't want another statistic to say that 90% of parents will face burnout, because we can do something about it. Hi, I'm a psychiatrist, and I make mental health education videos. The term parental burnout was coined in 2007 by a pediatrician who described it as a psychological syndrome emerging as a prolonged response to chronic interpersonal stressors on the job. Now, although this definition seems straightforward, there's no universal agreement on exactly what parental burnout is. And in fact, scientists are still struggling with how to define it and come up with reliable ways to measure it. We do know that it affects parents all over the world regardless of income level, education, or employment status. So stay tuned, because I'll be talking about the warning signs and how you can protect yourself and your kids from its negative effects. Before we jump into it, please take a moment to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you get notified whenever I post new videos. If you enjoy my content, please support me through the links in the description. Thanks for being here. So let's start out with some of the warning signs of parental burnout. You may have heard of compassion fatigue or secondary traumatic stress in healthcare workers. Well, the same thing can happen to parents. Parents experience vicarious trauma when they watch their children struggle and suffer. This happens even more so when the parent feels helpless to stop it or make things better. Over time, this emotional residue builds up and can lead to feelings of anger, disillusionment, and exhaustion. Another big one is loss of self. When you become a parent, you lose sleep, you lose privacy, you lose your carefree lifestyle. But most people are willing to make these sacrifices for the first few years of their child's life. After that, many parents start to feel like they've lost themselves, and this feeling just gets worse over time. For example, one parent described it like this: "As a child, I was outgoing, adventurous, and creative. As a parent, I felt like I had to keep my head down, focus on my duties, and avoid drawing too much attention to myself. In other words, I became introverted, fearful, and compliant. I knew my role and I didn't want to rock the boat." Next is decreased ability to enjoy anything. It's not uncommon for parents to describe their days as monotonous and joyless. Many report that they feel numb or apathetic towards everything, including things that used to make them happy. One mother of two said it best: "Every day is the same. Get the kids ready, take them to school, work, pick them up, cook dinner, help with homework, bath, bedtime stories, then repeat the process the next day. Where is the joy? Where is the excitement?" She said she felt like a robot or a machine going through the motions without any real purpose or meaning. The next warning sign is social withdrawal. Parents who experience burnout often neglect their relationships and withdraw socially. They may stop returning phone calls or making plans with friends. They may cancel at the last minute or make frequent excuses to get out of social situations. One father explained why: "It's exhausting to be around other adults. There is always that awkward moment where they ask you how the kids are doing and you launch into a monologue about all the latest milestones. But really you just want to tell them that your kids are great, but you don't want to hear about their kids. That's what you tell them. You don't want to hear about their kids. Then the conversation ends. No one asks about you or shows any interest in your life. All they care about is their own problems and accomplishments." He said it's easier to just stay home, take care of the house and yard, and spend time with the kids. Next is low energy. Of course, parents are tired. Being a parent is hard work. But I'm not talking about that kind of tired. I'm talking about a persistent state of low energy that doesn't improve with sleep. Some parents describe it as feeling drained or depleted of all energy, motivation, and enthusiasm. Others say they feel like they're living on empty, like they're carrying a heavy weight around with them wherever they go. A mother of 3 summed it up well: "Even after a full night's sleep, I still feel exhausted and overwhelmed. It's like there's a dark cloud hanging over me all the time, sucking the joy out of everything I do." And finally, increased irritability. We all get irritated sometimes, but people who are experiencing burnout become easily agitated and annoyed. Little things start to set them off. They may find themselves yelling or snapping at their kids, partners, friends, and coworkers. They might also cry more easily or feel more sensitive than usual. One father said he couldn't remember the last time he didn't feel irritated or frustrated. He said, "Now it feels like every little thing sets him off and he finds himself blowing up on people out of the blue." Now that we've talked about some of the warning signs of parental burnout, let's talk about some protective factors. Having a strong support system is key to preventing parental burnout. Parents who have access to a network of friends, family, or community members who can help them with childcare, housework, or errands are less likely to experience burnout. Another protective factor is having a positive mindset. Parents who are able to maintain a sense of optimism and hopefulness, even in the face of adversity, are better able to cope with the challenges of parenting and prevent burnout. Another protective factor is setting boundaries. It is important for parents to set healthy boundaries between their roles as parents and other aspects of their lives, such as their career, personal life, and hobbies. This can help them maintain a sense of identity outside of parenting and prevent them from becoming too focused on their children's needs at the expense of their own well-being. Another one is prioritizing self-care. Finally, parents need to make time for themselves in order to recharge and de-stress. This can include taking breaks, getting massages, going on vacations, or simply taking a few minutes each day to relax and de-stress. In addition to these protective factors, it's also important to seek professional help if you're struggling. There is no shame in admitting that you need help, and a therapist can provide you with the tools and support you need to manage the challenges of parenting and prevent burnout. I know that most of you watching this video aren't burned out and don't want to be burned out. So the question is, what can you do to prevent it? Well, the first step is to educate yourself about parental burnout. The more you know about it, the better equipped you'll be to recognize the warning signs and take steps to prevent it. One way to do this is to read books or articles about parental burnout or watch videos like this one. Talking to other parents about their experiences with parental burnout can also be helpful. They may be able to share coping mechanisms or resources that you're not aware of. The second step is to take care of yourself. This means eating healthy foods, exercising regularly, and getting enough sleep. It also means making time for activities that you enjoy and that help you relax. One way to ensure that you are taking care of yourself is to schedule self-care activities into your calendar just like you would any other appointment. That way you're more likely to make time for them and not feel guilty about it. The third step is to set boundaries. This means setting aside time each day or each week for activities that are important to you. It also means learning to say no when you need to and not feeling guilty about it. One way to set boundaries is to use a calendar or planner. Block out time for your most important activities and stick to it as much as possible. Step 4 is to build a support system. This can include friends, family members, or community members. Having people you can rely on for help can make a big difference in preventing parental burnout. One way to build a support system is to reach out to other parents in your community. You can do this by joining a parenting group or attending community events. Finally, step 5 is to seek professional help if you need it. There's no shame in talking to a therapist about your struggles with parenting. In fact, it can be incredibly helpful. A therapist can provide you with the tools and support you need to manage the challenges of parenting and prevent burnout. You can find a therapist by using the Psychology Today directory. Although parental burnout isn't always easy to avoid, taking these steps can help you prevent it and enjoy your time with your kids more. Remember, you're not alone and there's no shame in asking for help. Thanks for watching. See you next time.